Hello everyone. Today I will be discussing model code of conduct. As all of we know that the election commission announced the dates for Lok Sabha elections, triggering the enforcement of the model code of conduct called MCC. Here in this video, I aim to provide a concise overview of MCC, particularly within the context of exams. In this discussion, I'll explore the objectives of MCC, its necessity in a democratic setup, and the ongoing debate around its legalization. I'll examine why MCC is crucial for ensuring fair and transparent elections and whether there are challenges that warrant its legalization. So let's dive into it and unravel the intricacies of model code of conduct. Now let us first understand what is model code of conduct, who has to follow it, what are guidelines, what happens if it is violated, right? As the tenure of the 17th Lok Sabha is scheduled to end on June 16, 2024, polls for its 543 seats must be held prior to it, right? Apart from General Assembly polls, Lok Sabha polls, elections to state legislatures of Andhra Pradesh, Arunachal Pradesh, Odisha, Sikkim, they will be held in the same time frame, April-May 2024, right? Now, what is model code of conduct? The model code of conduct is a set of guidelines published by the Election Commission of India for political parties and candidates to set standards of conduct during the election campaign and polling. It also explains how parties can launch complaints to the election observers in case of dispute, and instructs how the ministries in power must conduct in themselves when the model code of conduct MCC is in force. And then this is very important for exams. In 2019 there was a new addition regarding election manifestos that was added, instructing parties to not issue promises which were repugnant to the ideas of constitution. Now the question is the MCC a law? The MCC code of conduct is not a statutory document, not enforceable by any laws passed by the parliament. Violating many of its guidance won't attract any action. However, there are certain actions such as causing tension between castes, religion, or linguistic communities, appealing to caste or communal feeling for securing votes, using places of worship for election propaganda, bribing, impersonating voters, canvassing within 100 meters of polling booths, transporting voters to and from polling stations, disrupting public meetings, holding public meetings for 48 hours prior to closing the polls. These all are listing as electoral offenses and the corrupt practices under the Indian Penal Code, which is now called Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. Right now, when does MCC come into force and end? Who is bound by it? This is a question. The MCC comes into force immediately when the election schedule is announced by the Election Commission of India. Like yesterday, we saw, as Lok Sabha polls were announced, MCC came into effect and it remains in operation till the election process is complete and the results are announced. The MCC is applicable to all elections of Lok Sabha, state assemblies. It's also applicable for state legislative council elections from local bodies. All organizations, committees, corporations, commissions funded wholly or partially by the center or state are bound by MCC, while listed political parties and candidates are bound to follow MCC. Even non-political organizations which hold campaign favoring a political party or candidate are bound to follow specific guidelines mentioned by Election Commission (EC). Now, what comes under model code of conduct? Number first is introduction of new grounds for projects or public initiatives is not allowed. It is prohibited. It's not allowed until the model code of conduct is there, till it is in force. Number second, government bodies are barred. They are not allowed. They cannot participate in any recruitment process during elections, right? Number third, contesting candidates and the campaigners must not disrupt the freedom and of the opponent candidate as regulated by the model code of conduct. And then election campaign rallies and road shows, they should not disrupt traffic, and should not cause inconvenience to general public, right? Of MCC is that it helps the election commission in keeping with the mandate it has been given under article 324 324 of the constitution, which gives it the power to supervise and conduct a fair election to the parliament, state legislature. See, Election Commission of India mentions it that model code of conduct was first observed during 1960s. 1960 polls in the Kerala state election, and since 1991 it has become an integral part of the Indian election. It comes into force from the date of the election schedule, as I mentioned, is announced and until the date that the results are out. Now, what are the provisions of MCC? Number first provision is prohibition, right? That is, criticism of political parties is limited to policies, programs, past records. You cannot do private criticism, you cannot do personal criticism. Then prohibited activities include using cost and communal feelings for votes, as I mentioned earlier. Number second is meetings. That means parties must inform local police of the venue and time for meetings to be enabled for adequate security arrangements. And then identify slips provided to voters should be on plain white paper without symbols, candidate names, or party. This is not allowed. A prohibition of print media advertisement on polling day and one day prior, unless pre-certified by security agencies. Then the limitation is, what are the limitations with the MCC? This is the most important point. The first limitation is if ineffectiveness and malpractices. This is viral there, and any article or any examination website for UPSC for either examinations, they give this description. MCC fails to prevent electronic malpractices like hate speech, money power, booth capturing, voter intimidation, and violence. And the new age technological challenges, is also a limitation. Like tools like webcasting, campaign related promotions, they're going viral, and implementation of these have been a tough task. And then there are new age technological challenges like Facebook. They are run by companies located overseas. Holding them accountable has been difficult for Election Commission of India. Pressing monetiles and poll expenditures is difficult. Cryptocurrencies, there is lack of legal enforceability. As I mentioned, MCC is not legally bind. It relies on moral persuasion and public opinion for compliance. There is a lack of awareness. Provisions of MCC are not widely known or understood by voters, candidates, parties, and government officials, right? And then as I mentioned, in 2013, the Standing Committee on Personal Public Grievances, Law and Justice recommended making the Model Code of Conduct legally binding to address some of the limitations of MCC. Now the way forward is that, number one, experts say MCC should be provided with statutory backing. It should be made a part of the Representation of the People Act 1951 to make MCC more powerful. Then second thing is that establishment of special fast track courts to solve the MCC violation cases at a faster pace. Then third point is public awareness about MCC that needs to be developed. The use of apps should be encouraged to reduce violation during courts. And then in March 2019, Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, Google, ShareChat, they presented a voluntary code of ethics, among other things, that involve insisting on transparency in political happenings. This is all. Thank you.